Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Paul here. So today it's all about my exit from Belgium. Okay, so after 4 years in Belgium, myself and my family we took the decision to leave Belgium and embrace a brand new challenge and of course a new country. Okay, with that said, so today I'll be sharing with you my thoughts with regards to that. So essentially, looking to share the pros and cons of my experience in Belgium, halfway at least, and then I'll be also sharing my thoughts at the end of my experience of actually living in Belgium. Okay, so if you did miss out on my initial video around the top 5 things that you should consider, the top 5 reasons that you should consider of actually living in Belgium, I'm going to drop them somewhere there on a link to a video. Okay, so today I'll be then breaking this down into 3 parts. So the first one is going to be around the pros and cons of living in Belgium, then halfway my experience, let's say, then my final thoughts of actually living in Belgium. Okay, and then last but not least, what's next. Okay, with that said, don't go anywhere, subscribe and join me on this journey. Okay, and give it a thumbs up, and let's start with the first one. Okay, let's go into this one. So let's talk about the pros and cons of actually living in Belgium, halfway my experience. Okay, so if you did miss out on my top 5 reasons why you should actually choose Belgium to live, take a look into that one. Okay, where I actually spoke about the 5 main reasons that I'm going to be speaking about today, but on a different view, so and really in depth. So today I'm just going to be talking about my perspective, halfway my experience. Is that actually real? Okay, so I would advise you for you to check that video and check this one, of course, and then having the combination of both, so that you have a better perspective of what is it that you should actually be expecting to get while living in Belgium. Okay, so what is it that I spoke of? So I spoke about 5 main things. Okay, so one was around the job market, cost of living and taxes. Okay, the other one around the healthcare, the education and culture, and then the third point was around living. Let's say the quality of life in Belgium is very interesting, so it's all about food, the beers and the chocolate. And then last but not least, I also spoke about the housing. Okay, and then the fact that Belgium actually has a very good location, is quite central. Okay, and good connections, and also by all different type of transportation, plane, trains, etc. Okay, with that said, so let's go a bit deeper, and I'm gonna give you my experience then halfway through on those 5 things. Okay, so with regards to the job market, cost of living and taxes. Okay, job market is quite good. Okay, with really low unemployment rate for years and years ongoing, even with multiple crises in the middle. Then the other point is around the cost of living. I think it's very, very balanced. Okay, meaning you get a very good living. Food is very accessible, is very good as well. You're gonna get really a lot of bio options. I'm an organic guy, so I eat bio food, but you're gonna get really good food. So the cost of actually transportations, the cost of for instance, of buying things on the street, being that food, being that meaning clothing, etc., is really accessible. It's not really high. And then the taxes. Yes, I know that people complain about the taxes, but I do think on the flip side. Okay, I do agree with the fact that the taxes are high, because that will allow for you to have a better healthcare, a better education, not as much around infrastructure, which is actually quite poor. So that is one thing that Belgium really needs to step up with regards to the motorways and so forth. Okay, but apart from that, I do agree that this is still a very valid point. Okay, moving forward, healthcare, education and culture. So here I got really a lot of questioning around that from my previous videos. So my thoughts, halfway my experience, were healthcare is very good. Okay, my child was born there. I was very blessed with the fact that he was born there. We had really good meaning caring. Of course, once in a while we needed to go to the hospitals or taking care about something else with regards to our health was really good, everything. So I still believe that healthcare in Belgium is very good. Okay, education, it's good. Okay, but although it's a bit dated, that is the only thing that I have to underline with regards of actually living in Belgium. So I was not really used to, I would say, to have people like writing in the board and things like that and raising it. So for me, I'm coming from a different background maybe, but I was expecting for it to be like projection, videos, and I don't know, if you need to write something in the boards like with a permanent pen and not really with, chalk, things like that. But yeah, so those are just details. The content is still good, but it's a bit dated, okay? And the education is a bit like strict, and sometimes it's not the best way of actually getting the most out of people, okay? With regards to culture, I do think that Belgium has a lot of people that could actually be much connected together, but they are not, okay? I'll drop it like that, okay? But it's still an interesting point. But culture is a problem because there's a lot of division, okay? I'll talk about that on my thoughts at the end of my journey, okay? With regards also to food, beer and chocolate, nothing to say. So food, it's top, even more if you're coming from the Netherlands where food is not that good. Beer, it's, yeah, the best beers in the world, and chocolate, very, very good. You can go outside and experience the life, although it can be raining a lot, but there's a lot of good restaurants, so really good. Okay, nothing to add there. Then housing. After living in 5 countries, I have to say that the housing in Belgium is one of the best, okay? Nothing to say about that. So top houses, large houses, so much cheaper than others, I have to say. In comparison, for instance, to my house in Barcelona, I have a flat in Barcelona and I pay roughly 500 euros more a month in Barcelona that I was paying for a full house, 3 stores in Belgium, okay? So which is already saying a lot. And I was living in a big city as well, okay? So with that said, I still think that housing is really top, so no problems. There's a lot of housing out there, although people say otherwise, don't believe them, okay? So with that said, those are, let's say, my thoughts with regards to what I do believe that is still valid from my initial experience in Belgium. You already understood that I did not put there the location nor the connection. The location, of course, Belgium is central, but the connections are not that good. Okay, I will be then moving to the next one. Stick around if you want to know. So let's talk about my thoughts at the end of my experience. So as I mentioned, job market really good, cost of living really good, taxes are acceptable, although high, but there is an explanation for that. Let's put it like that. Healthcare top, education a bit dated but still good, and then I also spoke about food, beers and chocolate, everything top, okay, so nothing to add there. And then I spoke about housing, really, really good. Housing system is very affordable and you're gonna get really very, very good houses for the amount of money that you pay, okay? So nothing to say about that. And if you want to go more into details with regards to this, take a look to my other video. Let's talk about the other things that I also thought at the end of my experience in Belgium. Not all of them are good, okay, but I think it's important for you to know. So starting with the first one, driving, okay. Wow. Can be challenging sometimes, okay. So there are a lot of very powerful cars, fast cars, and poor roads, okay. So that makes a really an explosive, you may say interesting kind of cocktail, okay, but that's what you get, okay. So if you're coming from the Netherlands into Belgium, as people say, normally you can actually identify that you are in Belgium even with your eyes shut. Why? Because the roads in the Netherlands are very smooth. You're gonna go and you'll see it, okay? And then once you go into Belgium, it's like It's like the roads do need some work there. Okay, so but the way of driving in Belgium can be really challenging. Okay, so I'm gonna give you some examples. So two. Once in Belgium, I was overtaken by a guy while I was overtaking another one. So I was overtaking another person, and then there was a guy that actually went in the middle of the two cars and overtake us both at the same time. Okay. Then another one, I got like really intense lights on my back while driving. Then I allow for the guy to pass, and then I just give him a flip of my lights as well. He threw me an apple at me in the middle of the motorway, meaning I never had that happening anywhere. So driving is a thing in Belgium. Okay, so pay attention to that one. Then the other point that I would say that is really an interesting point at the end. When I first went to Belgium, I thought, okay, so they speak three languages, let's say, so German, they speak Dutch, and they speak French, okay? But actually the language, plus they have a lot of local, like kind of almost their own language, let's put it like that. But the thing is that actually, for me, language should be actually seen as a bridge. And I'm not sure that that is the case in Belgium, where they actually they tend not to learn or not to really be very interested on how is it that the other ones are actually speaking of. But then there's another thing, let's say, which for me is actually quite interesting. Okay, so Belgium tends to learn as fast as they can someone else's language whenever they actually living abroad. Okay, for me that is really interesting because they are really focused on understanding someone else's let's say culture, but then they are very proud of that way of thinking, but not everyone sorry is actually thinking like that. So that is a point to maybe to take a look at, because Belgium expects for you to learn their language as fast as they would be learning yours. Okay, which makes sense, but not everyone can actually have the time or even the mentality for that. But nevertheless, that is another point. Okay, so that talking about the third one, so division. Okay, Belgium, unfortunately, it's a very divided country. Okay, with I would say almost three parts. Okay, so you have Brussels, and then you have the Flemish part, and then you have the Wallonian part. Okay, and for me, it's a very strange because it's a small country. Okay, but there is a lot of let's say ancient problems between brackets that came from 70, 80, 100 years ago, and that of course created divisions. Okay. And you have local languages, and of course you have the French, you have the Flemish, sorry, that is essentially Dutch with an accent, and of course you have the German part, and then you have local languages across the block. Okay, for me, what is the only thing that I would say that is as a kind of a ray of sunshine with regards to this that can actually tackle the division is around the Red Devils. Go Red Devils, okay? The football national team of Belgium that's actually really looking good on every big tournament out there, that actually puts together everyone across the country on the same boat. And I believe that that should be the case for everything in Belgium. So some work on that front. Okay, then last but not least, closing with a very difficult point. Okay, actually going to be closing with a more interesting one, but closing with one that is actually a bit problematic. So it's talking about nationalism and xenophobia. Okay, I'll say this is the most scaring and worrying topic on Belgium society, I would say, because you can feel it on jobs sometimes, you can feel it in the street. And then, of course, he had a previous, let's say, party on the 90s that till the beginning of the 2000s, that was the Vlaams bloc, okay, that actually created all of this kind of bad vibes, let's put it like that. And then you also have now, more recently, the Vlaams Belang, okay, that is essentially talking about Flemish interest, okay, and there's this kind of division, which for me it's not good, and also you tend to feel this kind of nationalism vibes. I remember then when I was driving there, still with a foreigner plate, I was chased by someone, okay, from nowhere. Which is a bit bizarre, but then you have a few other points. So I'd say that this is a point that really needs to be worked on. Okay. With that said, closing with a very good point. Okay, and this is all about that I will be forever connected, let's say, to Belgium. My child was born there, so of course that is already a point. Plus, I have very, very good friends there. Okay, from the Flemish side, but also I would say from Brussels as well. So nothing to add, all good. Okay, let's talk about next and close this up. Okay, to close, what's next for me? Okay, so with regards to this, I'm gonna give you then my advice. Okay, so essentially talking about the fact and what is it that you need to look at if you're going to be leaving Belgium for less than 3 months, or also on the flip side, if you're going to be leaving Belgium on a permanent fashion like myself. So what is it that you should actually looking to take a look at? And then of course I'll be sharing with you what's next for me. Okay, with that said, let's start with the first one. So if you're looking to leave Belgium under 3 months, there is not a lot that you should be worried about. You don't need to inform the authorities of your departure and also of your return. You do need to pay attention to your ID card, okay, to the renewal date. Take a look into that one, because you can actually have some problems with that if it actually expires in between while you are out. Okay, then moving abroad permanently. Okay, here this is where you need to pay a bit of attention. Okay, so if you are permanently moved to another country, you need to inform the municipality of your prior, or at least immediately after you departure. Okay, you need to inform. There's an e-form for that. It's called the final declaration, final departure declaration, apologies. And then if you are Dutch, then there are a few other things to consider. If you're looking to get back to the Netherlands also, you need to take care of the Model 8, okay? The certificate that address that from the national registration, okay? And then those are the, let's say, my advices. Plus, if you do take care of that, normally speaking, Belgium will give back the money that you pay in terms of taxes, okay? That is a very good one as well. It happened to me, so I'm guessing it can happen to you as well. Okay, with that said, let's go into my next step. So my next step is all about going to the UK, going to England and work on a tech company. With that said, okay, at a higher position. So with that said, hopefully this was an interesting session. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and join me on this journey, and leave your comments below if you have any questions whatsoever with regards to Belgium. I'm here for you, happy to help. Okay, take care, cheers, bye bye.
Hallo, ik ga muziek doen. When I'm gone, when I'm gone.